Good morning, students. Hope all of you are fine. Because this lecture is also in the continuation of theme 9, and name of this theme is Kings and Chronicles. So in previous lecture we discussed about the topic capitals and court, and half of the topic was left. So today we will discuss the same topic, and like we discussed about the Mughal courts. In that we discussed that how different rituals were performed in front of the emperor, like those were taslim and jameen boss. So now the upcoming paragraph, it is about the protocols. Those were strictly followed in the Mughal court. The protocols governing diplomatic envoys at the Mughal court were equally explicit. An ambassador, so one very important example is given here, that an ambassador presented to the Mughal emperor was expected to offer an acceptable form of greeting, either by bowing deeply or kissing the ground. It means even whosoever ambassador they were coming from the different state or even from the overseas, they are also expected to offer the greeting by bowing deeply or by kissing the ground. Or else they are to follow the Persian custom of clasping one's hand in front of the chest. So this was also the system. One was just putting his arm on the chest and then they were bowing deeply. So Thomas Roe, the English envoy of James I, he simply bowed in front of Jahangir according to the European custom. And further, he just shocked all the court person by demanding a chair. So this incident is very much famous in the history, because they were in Mughal court, they were very much particular about the different rituals that must be followed by the all. The emperor began his day at sunrise with personal religious devotions or prayers, and then appeared on a small balcony, and that was called Jharokha, facing the east. And below that a crowd of people, and in those people soldiers, merchants, craft persons, peasants, women with sick children waited for a view, and that view, it was known as darshan of the emperor. Jharokha darshan was introduced by Akbar with the objective of broadening the acceptance of the imperial authority as part of popular faith. As we have discussed the divine faith, so just for the acceptance of this one, this Jharokha darshan was introduced. So after spending an hour at the Jharokha, the emperor walked to the public hall of audience, that was known as Diwan-e-Aam, to conduct the primary business of the government. State officials presented reports and made requests. So like we have seen, if we just talk about the parliament, there are also different reports are presented, right? And different discussions went on. So the same way was followed in the courts also, that different reports were presented and requests were made. And 2 hours later, the emperor was in the Diwan-e-Khas to hold private audiences and discuss confidential matters. Like it is very clear with this name, Diwan-e-Aam, it was a public hall for normal people, जिसको आप हिंदी में बोलते हैं आम लोग, common people. And Diwan-e-Khas, Khas is for special. It has there the meetings were held for the confidential purposes. So High Minister of State placed their petition before him, and tax officials presented their accounts. Occasionally, the emperor viewed the works of highly reputed artists or building plans of architects. So these important tasks were done in the Diwan-e-Khas. On special occasion, such as the anniversary of accession to the throne, means when any new person was given the throne. Eid, Sahib Barat and Holi, the court was full of life. Perfume candles set in rich holders and palace walls festooned with colorful hangings made a tremendous impression on visitors. It means this court was just lavishly decorated during these festivals. The Mughal kings celebrated three major festivals in a year: the solar and lunar birthdays of the monarch and Navroz, the Iranian New Year on the vernal equinox, and on his birthdays the monarch was weighed against various commodities which were then distributed in charity. And if we see the on the previous pages, beta, few images are given. As we know that image questions can also be asked, so that is why I am just discussing these images. So beta, you can see this image, this figure 9.9, ring Prince Aurangzeb at Agra before his wedding. This painted by Payag in the Badshah-nama. So this was painting, it is in the Badshah-nama, right? And here also one more image is mentioned. Here you can see this is figure 9.10. Prince Khurram being weighed in the precious metal in a ceremony. It was called a Jashn-e-Wazn. Jashn-e-Wazn means कि weight के according जो भी important items होती थी उसको charity में दिया जाता था, and it was known as Jashn-e-Wazn or Tuladan, and it is taken from the Jahangir memoirs. In the same way, on the next page also so many images are mentioned, and these images are from the wedding, Dara Shikoh wedding. And weddings were celebrated lavishly in the imperial household, as you know that because the royal marriages. So this in 1633 the wedding of Dara Shikoh and Nadira, the daughter of Prince Parvez, was arranged by Princess Jahanara. As you know, Jahanara, she was the daughter of Shah Jahan. And Sati-un-Nisa Khanum, the chief maid of late Empress Mumtaz Mahal. So an exhibition of the wedding gifts was arranged in the Diwan-e-Aam. In the afternoon, the emperor and the ladies of the harem paid the visit to it. And even the bride's mother similarly arranged her presents in the same hall, and Shah Jahan went to see them. Then the Hina Bandi, there is one image of Hina Bandi also. Hina Bandi, beta जो आप कहते हैं ना मेहंदी लगाना, that was known as Hina Bandi. And during that time in the Diwan-e-Khas, betel leaf, pan, cardamom, dry fruit were distributed among the attendants of the court. And even in this marriage of Dara Shikoh, the expenditure is also mentioned here, like 32 lakh rupees were spent, out of which rupees 6 lakh was contributed the imperial treasury, rupees 16 lakh by Jahanara, and the rest by the bride's mother. And all these paintings are from the Badshah-nama, and it also just shows some other activities also, those were related to the occasion. So now the further topic is, that is the titles and gifts. Grand titles were adopted by the Mughal emperors at the time of coronation or after a victory over an enemy. High sounding and rhythmic, they created an atmosphere of awe in the audience when announced by ushers. Mughal coins carried the full title of the reigning emperor with regal protocol. It means whenever there was any victory over enemy or the coronation time, at that time different titles were awarded, and even sometime coins were also issued. The granting of titles to men of merit was an important aspect of Mughal polity. A man's ascent in the court hierarchy could be traced through the titles he held. Like all of you must have listened about the Navratan of Akbar's court, right? So the title Asaf Khan for one of the highest ministers originated with Asaf, the legendary minister of the prophet king Suleiman. The title Mirza Raza was accorded by Aurangzeb to his two highest ranking nobles, Jai Singh and Jaswant Singh. Titles could be earned or paid for. Mir Khan offered rupees 1 lakh to Aurangzeb for the letter Alif, that is A, to be added to his name to make it Amir Khan. So other awards including the Robe of Honor, a garment once worn by the emperor and imbued with his benediction. So this was also the method that the clothes those were used by the emperor, those were also given as the gifts. One gift, the Sarafa, consisted of a tunic, a turban and a sash, patka. So, and the jeweled ornaments were often given as gifts by the emperor. The lotus blossom set with jewels was given only in exceptional circumstances. So all these were the method of giving their gifts. A courtier never approached the emperor empty-handed. He offered either a small sum of money that was known as nazr, किसी को कुछ pay करना, or a large amount that was known as पेशकश. In diplomatic relations, gifts were regarded as a sign of honor and respect. Ambassador performed the important function of negotiating treaties and relationships between competing political powers. So the awarding of title as well as the giving of gift to the emperor, it was a very important function by the ambassador also. Ambassador were the people who were visiting from the various cities. In such a context, gifts had an important symbolical role. Thomas Roe was disappointed when a ring he had presented to Asaf Khan was returned to him for the reason that it was nearly worth ₹400. So this was the topic about the titles and gifts. So hope all of you have understood the topic. Thank you and have a nice day.